Now, welcome back to this amazing journey on understanding JavaScript. I can assure you that it's actually a nice, awesome, flexible point to kind of understand JavaScript. And welcome to today, because this is actually JavaScript Part 2. Initially, we had JavaScript Part 1, which is actually our previous video. And based on the course outline, because we are actually doing this as per our course outline. And if I can just show our course outline, for example, what we did yesterday, we did actually discuss some bit of introduction. Now, some of the developer applications, and if you look at it, we had like the development workflow. If you remember this, it's actually similar to the software development lifecycle. So there must be a process to be followed before the application is tested and deployed. And this again happens or is in line or conjunction with JavaScript. They're selecting the right tools for the job, just enough HTML and CSS. This, of course, we say that for you to just learn enough of or to understand JavaScript, you need to have a basic foundation on HTML and CSS, understanding objects, understanding variables, understanding or making some comparisons, which was more of JavaScript operators, where we need to understand how to use the arithmetic operators, the logical operators, the assignment operators, the bitwise operators, and the rest. We were also able to introduce events. And then through that, we talked about starting to code. So we were able to write our first script. Then we were able also to kind of differentiate between the internal scripts, that is internal JavaScript, and the external JavaScript. Remember, we have the script element or the script tag, which of course typically shows that it's actually the JavaScript you're using. We also learn how to put some comments, and you see comments are good. They make your code more readable, but they are not part of the execution. They are not part of your code execution. So given programming languages, you'll be having a different ways. Probably some are similar on how to put those comments, but remember we have like two types. You can either do the single line comments or you can do the multi-line comments. And then we were able also to do what we call the no script tag, like just to talk about the no script tag. And this is a scenario where probably your browser is not supporting JavaScript or JavaScript has been disabled. But today, I want us to get into more practical, because this is actually an area we want to engage more. It's an area we want to at least make some practicality out of JavaScript and feel how JavaScript works. Now, this is actually our course outline. The whole of this is our course outline. The whole of this is our course outline. And based on this course outline, you can see that we have a lot of things to learn, which are more interesting, as far as JavaScript is concerned. And some of these things are applicable, like they are actually more of a real life practicals, because you have to, especially if you're working on your website or a web page and you want to integrate JavaScript, either for dynamic purposes, interactive purposes, you can actually work with JavaScript. So today we are having our short course outline here, that this is what we need to cover. Now, if you go as per my documentation here, I've actually highlighted like the objectives. And if you look at the objectives, we are looking at interacting with users, which is the same as our course outline. It's only that I want to break them down for you so that we can understand. So we are talking about creating alert dialogs, understanding conditional statements, getting confirmations from users, creating prompts for users, understanding functions, making links smarter, using switch or case statements, and then automatically you should also learn how to handle errors in as far as JavaScript is concerned. Now, for this, I want to bring down the same points down here because the actualization of this is what I refer to as implementation. So how can we implement? And remember, for this one, we are actually making what you call a pre-visit before the actual visit. So we are actually doing a you see, we want to do it or to just kind of test before the actual code test. So here, I'm going just to get rid of some few lines here. And let's say, for example, when creating alert dialogs, you should know about a function called alert. It's a function. When getting confirmations from users, we have a function called confirm. We have a function called confirm. Now, remember, it's more of introducing you into some of these functions. Just to know that we have what you call confirm functions. Now, you move further, we have creating prompts for users. So we also have another function called prompt function. Remember, all these are what we'll end up using. Now, understanding functions means you're supposed to understand some of these functions. When I want to bring or create an alert, which function should I use? I should use alert. When I want to make some confirmations, which function should I use? Confirm. When I want to create prompts for users, which function should I use? Prompt. So this particular topic of understanding functions is a wider part. And of course, that makes you kind of understand some of these functions. And when it comes to making links smarter, it's more of adding. Now, we don't have a function, but remember, you can actually add what you call on-click. So we have kind of on-click functions, but most of the time we refer to as on-click event handler. On-click event handler. So we want to make our links smarter. Then on using switch case statements. Now, switch case statements are more demonstrated by using what we call handle switch case function. And if you look at it, some of these functions are very case sensitive. Some of these functions are very case sensitive. They are very case sensitive. If you look at the way I've written handle switch case, you must write the S the way it is. You must write the C the way it is. And yeah, that is how it should. This is how it should be. This is how it should be. So here we are talking about handle switch case function. And the same on the last part here, we are talking about handling errors in JavaScript. So it's more of handling the exceptions. Most of the time we refer errors as exceptions. But in this scenario, we need, again, a function that can help us handle errors in JavaScript. So if you look at that, we have handle error. And again, it's case sensitive. So you must put an uppercase E so that it becomes functional. But remember, when you are handling or when it comes to error handlings, sometimes you can actually have a block. You can actually have a block. And you'll find that sometimes we have a block which corresponds to try, and then we have like catch, block in the handle error. So when it comes to this function, we will include this try catch try-catch block. The try-catch block is actually going to help us catch these errors. So this is more of a brief tour, at least creating that awareness of which functions to use and how it should. So when it comes to discussing each one of these points, it becomes more clear because you see, if you discuss, for example, about creating alert dialogues, we are putting more weight into understanding the concept. Because, for example, I've just given you this particular function called alert function. So to create alert logs, you must achieve that alert logs by the alert function in JavaScript. And of course, whenever you use the alert function in JavaScript, it displays a message to the user in a dialog box. When it comes to creating confirmations, you must use the confirm function. And this confirm function is actually used to show a dialog box with a message and probably 2 buttons. You remember, you must have like yes or no, because yes is going to open a dialog box, but this dialog box has a message. And if it has a message, then it's up to you to confirm. Is it no or yes? Or okay and cancel. Sometimes it returns a Boolean value indicating whether the user clicked okay or cancel. So those are some of the things that you should take note of. And we are going to do them practically. So if you look at it, we have all this. When it comes to prompts, now for the prompts, prompts are actually created using prompt function, and the actual work or what is displayed is actually a dialog box that prompts the user to enter a value. Let's say, for example, it prompts a user to enter a value because it's going to give you an input, or it's going to provide an input. And once you key in some values, it's going to return the entered value. So we want just to have a simple way of making things clear that we will create a prompt. That prompt is going to run. We expect to see an input. We enter our values and let it give us the same values we entered. Now, in understanding function, because now this is a general thing. In understanding functions, first of all, you should define what a function is all about. So when you talk about a function, you can actually say what is a function. And a function is or are blocks of reusable code that performs a specific task. So if you look at the functions, sometimes functions are defined to encapsulate different functionalities, like for example, showing alerts. You see here we have a functionality that shows alerts. We have a functionality that does the confirmation. We have a functionality that does the prompting. We have a functionality that does the switch case. We also have a functionality that does the handling or that handles errors. So these are actually functions which are defined to encapsulate or to showcase different functionalities. When it comes to links, remember we are talking about using the on-click event handler, and links can be made smarter by adding this, what you call event. On-click event handler is more on-click listeners. So you are adding on-click listeners to these links for them to become smarter. So an on-click event handler is added to the link to trigger a function when it's clicked, making it smarter than a traditional link that just navigates to like a URL. Like you're clicking a function or a link is taking you directly to somewhere.
So why don't you add or make that link more smarter by adding what you call an event listener or an on-click event handler that will prompt or that will be triggered and at least when clicked. Now, there's something about the switch case. When it comes to the switch case, this is based on like understanding conditional statements, and it is actually based on conditions. You'll find the switch condition, find the case, or you'll find some conditional statements which uses the switch case, the switch case keyword. And for switch case statements, these are actually used when you have multiple conditions to check against a single expression. Because for a condition, we must check against a provided value or against a single expression. So for an handle switch case, because now we have the actual function, which is handle switch case. This function define or is actually defined or is a function that is defined or the function that uses a switch statement to perform different actions based on the value of choice. Based on the value of choice. So, so for this scenario, I think it is fair for us now to get into more practical. Probably I've just elaborated more, but I think we also have something called the handling errors. We have this particular function. Now, the definition to this or the understanding to this is so direct because it's just a matter of handling errors. But remember, errors in JavaScript can be handled using the try-catch blocks. And the handle error function intentionally generates an error using the throw statement. And then it's caught and handled using a catch block. So when I talk about the catch block, it is this. Try catch block. Because what happens when an error is thrown? We should actually get a message. So this message is actually handled using a catch block. So in summary, the JavaScript implementation actually covers various aspects of interacting with users based on, of course, what we have here. You can end up interacting with users, like, for example, the alert logs, confirming actions, getting user inputs, making links interactive, using conditional statements and functions, and last but not least, handling errors gracefully. So you have to make sure that the system handles errors gracefully. So these are fundamental concepts in web development for creating interactive and user-friendly experiences. So these are just but few things I want us to work around. And this time around, I want us to do like the practical part of it. And doing the practical part of it, I'm going to create a file, or let me just get rid of all this now. And because we have javascript.html, we worry less about that because that is already an HTML file. So let me just create the basic HTML structure. And remember, for my case, I'm using Sublime Text. For your case, you can use Visual Studio Code and other text editors, as long as you're comfortable with. So with this, probably on the first note, because let me just talk of interacting, because our, yeah, it was more of interacting with users. Let's just have that as part of our interacting with users. So let that be our first part. Now, let me start by, of course, integrating the comments. Remember, now we've understood what a single line comment, the multi-line comments. I want us to start by creating, let's say, alert dialog.
We just use the alert dialog. Yeah, so this is just, but this is what you call the single line comment. Now I want to create a button. And when creating a button, I want to use what you call the on-click listener. But of course, we will end up creating another dialogues using on-click listener. At the same time, we can end up using a function. We can also use function because you see, for this listener or for this alert, we must associate it with JavaScript because look at this. When I type button alone, this is not JavaScript. This is pure HTML. But remember, we say that for a script or for JavaScript, we should have it in between these tags. We must have it in between these tags. So I want us to move step by step. So I've created a button here, and I want to assign a name. For example, if I come in between and type show alert. You see, show alert. So I'm just using direct translation so that we can understand what we are doing here. Like alert dialog, show alert. Now, when you save your file and run it and click open in browser, you see it's just giving you this. If you click at it, it's just a button. But now it is purely HTML. But this time round, I want to add some value to it. This time round, I want to add what you call on-click listener, which is of course on-click event handler. And for me to trigger this on-click event handler, I need to use or to create a function. And through that function, I'm going to attach a message. So in this scenario, I'm going to have like on-click, let's say on-click. And here I'm going just to say show alert. So I'm assigning a name, show alert. And then of course, because of function, then I need to do what? I need to put that. So show alert. It's going to be a function name. So it's not actually anywhere near the JavaScript data dictionary, but of course, if I want to make it more elaborative, yeah, this is actually the best naming convention. At least if you're combining two words, you can actually use the first letter as lowercase, then the next letter for the next word is going to be an uppercase. So I think for that, it's more of a naming convention. So let's come here. And for this case, I want to create a function. And function to show what? To show alert dialog. You see? So I want to show this. So this one, I'm going to put it like that. So you can put like, so look at this, the difference of putting a single line comment on HTML directly and the difference on putting a single line comment on script. So for the script or JavaScript is using the double forward slashes, but for the HTML, it's enclosing with this. So it starts with that, then it ends with that. So now I want to create a function. So what is the name of our function? So the name of our function is this. Okay, the name of our function is this. And then from there, we need to put a curly brace. Then we type alert. Now, what will happen when you click this button? It should actually give us a message. So the message is, hey, I am an alert. I am alert. So let's just have something like that. Yeah, so now I have associated this particular button with on-click function, and then I've come here. So this is purely JavaScript, and this is purely HTML. So this time around, if I save my file, and then right-click on it, open browser, this time around, if I click like that, you see that it's going to give me or giving me an alert. This page says, hey, I am alert. If you click OK, then that's it. So that is what you call an alert. Is what you call an alert. So at some point in your project, you might feel that you want to apply or you want to add. So this is the first one. This is the first one. So this one goes with this. Now, number two, coming down here, I want to put confirm. I'm not sure about confirm dialog. It is the same dialog, but this time around for confirmation, remember it has for an alert dialog. For an alert dialog, if you look at it, if you look at the alert dialog here, if I click on this button, it's only giving me one word. It's only giving me one okay. But remember, we talked about the confirmation. Confirmation means it's either you give okay or cancel, yes or no. So I want you to come here and do a confirmation dialog. So I'm putting that comment. This time around, I need to have a button. I need to have a button. I need to have a button. And then for the button, let me just type show confirmation. Now, the text in between is at least in line to what we are doing here. Confirm dialog, so show confirmation. Alert dialog, show alert. Then I will come back here and talk of on click. But this time around, I'm going to do show confirmation. Show confirmation. So when you save this and reload the page, now you can see show confirmation. So the first one was about show alert. And now you're able to see the alert. The next one is show confirmation. So this time around is just a button. So let's go to the script. So I'll come below here. And then let me copy the same story here, paste it down here. But this time around is show confirmation. Show confirmation. So when it comes to show confirmation, this time around we need to have two. So I will have a function. And then with the function, I will take this particular name here, which of course is going to be my function name. And then I open with the curly brace. And this time around, I want to use an if statement. Remember now, this is like the conditional statement. So I'll just open with if, and then talk, I want to confirm into another bracket, and then talk of, do you want to proceed? Do you want to proceed? Do you want to proceed? Then I'll just open that. And then I will have an alert, and then another bracket. Then you say, let's say you clicked OK. You clicked OK. So it's just a scenario. And then because it's an if statement, it's a conditional statement, it must have else. Then we have an alert into bracket. Let's say you clicked cancel. You clicked cancel. You clicked cancel. So I want it to have a confirmation, like we have OK and we have cancel. So the first one is, do you want to proceed? If you click OK, it will show. If it's not going to, if you clicked cancel, then of course it's going to give you that. But remember, we have two things here. It's a conditional statement. It's either you click OK or click cancel. But remember, for the alert, it was only one. So this time round, if I go and reload the page, we click show alert, it displays an alert. We click show confirmation. Now you can see for the confirmation is, do you want to proceed? If we click OK, it should give us a message. You clicked OK. If I go back there, click cancel, it says you click cancel. Click like that. This is a confirmation. So for JavaScript, what you need to know is now the concept, so that whenever you are developing your application, whenever you are developing your website, you can think of where would you want to animate, where would you want to make your website more interactive. You can apply these alerts, you can apply these confirmations, and that will make your website more good. Another thing is, let's go to prompts, because those are some of the things that we discussed. So here we can talk about prompt. Now for the prompt, we expect it to have an input. But remember, we don't want to make it more complex. We want this input such that if you type number 9, it should give you 9 as a return, or it gives you 9 as your results. So the same scenario here, I'm just going to copy the whole button here just to adjust, because we are talking about the buttons. And through these buttons, on the button, okay, here I just want to have like show prompt. And then here I'm going just to apply prompt. Prompt. So button on click, show prompt. Now let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Yeah, we have this show prompt. Show prompt. So this time round, we will go to, so I will copy this name. Now, of course, I will come here to the function. I want to come below the scripts here. This time round, I just want to talk of, not confirmation, this time round is prompt. Then I'll go and copy this. So once you come to this part, remember it's a function at the end. So I'm using the function, paste it, and then do like that. Now, remember, when it comes to declaring variables in JavaScript, and I think it's something we'll go back, we're using the word let. So I'm going to use the word let, and I can assign a name, which is actually my variable name. Then I'm going to talk of prompt into bracket, okay, into bracket, and then just say, please enter your name. Enter your name. And then after that, I'm going to put like a comma. And in this scenario, I'm giving you, let's have like Sammy. Enter your first name. So enter your first name. So let me talk of Barak. We will see what is happening with Barak. Now, let's come to the second part. I'm using an if statement. So if name is not equal, you see you have this not equal. Let's assume that it is null. You have these symbols, which of course part of the operators, and then just say name, exclamation mark equals to, and then like that. So based on this, I want to create an alert. So I'll come and say alert into bracket, hello. Just like that. And then add plus the name, then plus. Probably you can add an exclamation mark like that. Now, because it's an if statement, I also need to have the else. What happens when? So you can come and just say, because you don't know the name, you can just have like, hello, stranger. Hello, stranger. Hello, stranger. So for this one, it's more intense compared to now the confirmation. For the confirmation, we were able to use if else. The same thing we're using before if else, we're declaring a variable. So this variable name is going to cater or to take the name you are entering. So let's save it. Then let's go down here and reload. So this time around, when you click show alert, everything is okay. You click show confirmation, everything is okay. You click show prompt. Look at that now. So this is the prompt. It's giving you an input. Now for that barack, you can delete. And you can type probably your name, Sammy. If you click OK, you see hello, Sammy. Now, what happens if you don't have a name? If you click OK, it's going to give you what? Hello, stranger. So the actualization part of this, if you click hello, Juliet, click OK, it gives you hello, Juliet. You click again, you put hello, probably a Swanti. You click like that, give you hello, a Swanti. But if at all you mistakenly clicked this part, then automatically it's going to give you hello, stranger. So if you click cancel, automatically it's going to give you hello, stranger. And that's it. So there's difference between the alert, the confirmation, and the prompt functions. And the prompt functions. Now, let's come to probably the last thing for us to talk about here. And I want to talk about, let's talk of the smart link. Let me just copy this and talk about the smarter or the smart, let me smarter link. So when it comes to the smarter link, remember it's just a link. But instead of this link directing you to just a page, it's somehow placed in a better way, like in a smarter position. So you'll find that for this, I need to have a link because we are talking about what? We are talking about a link. So I don't want this link to take me anywhere. And based on this, I want again to attach on click. So you can see the importance of the on click event handler or the on click listener. So here, I want just to attach smart link. Remember the naming convention? You can start with the lowercase, but of course, the next letter goes with the uppercase. And then I can just say, click me, and then you close with that. So this is what we call the on click. But remember, I don't want to have just a link because if I save it right now and click like that, you can just see click me. If you click at it, you see it's not taking you anywhere. But what happens if we had more value? We want to make it more smart. We want to make this link more smarter. So for me to make this link more smarter, I need, of course, to come here and on the script. So remember for the script, everything has to be operated down here. So we are going to say function to make let's say to make link smarter. So it's just simple. You can just say function. Now, what is the name of our, yes, the smart link? So if you come down here, you paste it, and then you open like that. Okay, sorry. Okay, you paste it, you open like that, and then we just create an alert. So on this alert, you can just say you clicked the smart link. You clicked the smart link. You clicked the smart link. So when you go to this other side and we reload, if you click here, what happens? You click the smart link. If you click at that, you click the smart link. Now, you see, at some point, if you have all these concepts within your fingertips, when you're using JavaScript now to beautify or to make your website more interactive, of course, with the presence of the HTML and CSS, you see some of these things might come into your mind and you thought of, let me apply like, I don't know, click listener, let me apply and click like prompt, and everything goes on well. Now, from this perspective, you can now see that we have already established some of the on-click listeners based on the buttons, because we don't want to have the buttons just the same way they are, but we want to add some values on it. Now, there are two things here which are still pending. We want to discuss about handle switch case, like how do you use the handle switch case function? And of course, again, how do you handle errors? So with this one, I'm not going to create like a buttons, or I'm not going to create buttons, but let me just capture this information. Let me capture this information down here. So I'm just going to directly create the function. So here I can just talk of function to handle switch. Remember, switch stroke case statements. Switch stroke case statements. Now, there are functions. So I want us to use like function. And let me just talk of handle switch case into bracket. And then on this other side, let me put a curly brace. But this time round, we want to have a choice. So for me to use the switch, I need to make use of the word switch. And then the switch itself is going to be based on the choice. Now, if you go to other languages, you'll experience this. You will be able to use the switch case statements, of course, in understanding the conditional statements. And for this one, you're supposed to start because it's based on choices. So you'll come to case and say, case, let case be A. Let the first case be A. And then we create an alert. And then say, oh, let's have like here, we have BMW. So these are choices of the cars. So let's talk of, you chose option A, option B. Okay, let's say you chose BMW. And then below that, I will end up doing what you call a break. Now this is just to put a break. Then I will come to another case. So the second case, I will have, let's say, Subaru. Put like that. So the same scenario comes here. So I'll just copy it so that we can save time. So you chose Subaru. You chose Subaru. And then what happens when it comes to you not choosing? We have the default, and based on the default, I'm going to copy this and add them. So alert, let's talk of something like invalid. So we assume that there were two choices. It's either you're choosing BMW or you're choosing Subaru. So we can talk of invalid choice. We're talking about invalid choice. Now, for us to test, because you see, creating or trying to handle a switch case is one thing. And then testing is another thing. Testing is another thing. So let's come here and try test. So test switch, let me have, it's also called switch case statements. So how do we test? So you are testing based on what? The function name. So you will copy the function name and place it here. This time round, you can choose, let's say, for example, you opted to choose BMW. Let's see what will happen. So creating a switch case is one thing, and then calling that switch case is another thing. So let me just open this and reload. Look at that. You chose BMW. Yeah, it's going to mute everything here. But of course, once you reload, it's going to, you chose BMW. If I put Subaru, save it. If I go up here and reload, you chose Subaru. Now, what happens when nothing is chosen? If you come here, you see invalid choice. There's invalid choice. So if you look at this, it's actually one way or the other. At some point, if you want to make your sites more attractive, at some point you might end up looking for this. Now, the last thing, let's check about function to handle errors. In fact, the secrets to understanding JavaScript is just to understand the application of using these functions. Using these functions. It's just to understand using the functions. So for the function, I'll come and use the word function. That is for the errors. I'll just use handle error into brackets. I don't want to put anything there, but we can expound it later. Remember, we had what we call the try-catch block. So this is the try-catch block. So I want to do, let's say I want to generate error intentionally. I want to generate an error intentionally. Remember, I'm also using some comments, the single line comment. So I want just to throw something here because you see, if it's a system, you need to make sure that you have some errors or it catches some errors. But here I want just to do like a custom error. And then here, I'm going to do catch into bracket error. And then into that, then I want to create an alert. Into bracket. I just want to do like error or catch. Then plus error dot message. Yeah. So again, if you're declaring creating an error function, handle error function, then you should also be able to test the errors. So let's just do the test. So I want to test error handling So to test the error handling, of course, you're supposed to abide by the name of that particular function. So you come down here, you paste it like that. Yeah, like that. So here, I just want to mute, or just to mute this, or to apply some comments. So if you want to comment this, you can just select and then Control /. So everything is commented there except this part, and of course the upper part. So I want us to test. So when I come here, reload, now you can see error occurred, custom error. So I created the error automatically. I created the error intentionally. So if I remove all this, so I think the first thing that it should run is actually the handle switch statement. If I do that, yes, this is, if you click OK, then you get the error. So it's more of a follow-up here, because if you look at it probably here, I need to have BMW. So it's going to execute the switch case statement first, and then later on it's going to execute the handling of errors. Remember, my error is intentional. But if you are on a serious project, then you have to make sure that the system handles error as it should, and of course, gracefully. So if I go back here and try reload, then you can see you chose BMW. If I click OK, then error occurred, custom error. So we have show alert, we have show confirmation, and of course that gives you that show prompt. And once you click OK, it's going to say hello Barack. Once you click cancel, it's going to give you hello stranger. And of course, click me, you click the smart link. And this is actually how you can, you see, use some of effects just to make sure that your website is more interactive. So up to that point, it is time to say that we've actually covered what we should in this particular chapter on interacting with users. One is creating alert dialogs, which you're using the alert function. You need to understand conditional statements. This is actually the if statement and the else, if-else statement. And of course, it goes beyond the else. Getting confirmations from users, you can use confirm function. Creating prompts from users, you're using prompt function. Understanding functions, most of these are functions. The alert function, the prompt function, the confirm function, making links matter, using switch case statements, and finally handling errors. So in our next JavaScript part 3, we will be talking about JavaScript language essentials, and we will still make a visit to this other part, because as far as we are writing our first JavaScripts, we need at least to understand how do we write objects, how do we implement objects, how do we implement variables, how do we perform comparisons, and of course, how do we do the events. But remember, for the events, we have the on-click listener, or we normally refer to as the on-click event handler. So up to that point, see you on JavaScript part 3. So thank you for your time, and see you on the next tutorial.